From the far reaches of the Milky Way galaxy, it's Retro Nerd Girl with a film review for you. Today, I'll be reviewing the movie The Room, released in 2003, starring Tommy Wiseau, Greg Sestero, and Juliette Danielle. Directed by Tommy Wiseau. Genre: drama. The rating is an R. The budget, $6 million estimated. My rating is a 6.2. The synopsis is: Johnny and Lisa are happily soon to be married until one night Lisa decides she's bored with Johnny and she wants to ruin his life by sleeping with his best friend Mark. Enjoyment. You know, when I first saw the poster for this movie, I thought that this was going to be a film about a serial murderer, and the room is where he does all of his creepy stuff. Well, I was wrong. It's absolutely nothing like that at all. The film was meant to be a drama, but there are so many problems with the film that it actually is pretty funny and surprisingly enjoyable. The pacing, at an hour and 39 minutes, it felt more like 2 hours, especially in the middle of the film. The story. The story is the creation of the film's writer, star, director, and producer, Tommy Wiseau. The film is a little odd because it really runs its course more like a soap opera or a play, which makes sense because the script was originally written as a play and then a novel. The novel couldn't get published, so Tommy decided to finance and shoot it as a film, which sounds reasonable for a lot of small independent filmmakers. The title of the film, as explained by Tommy, was meant to evoke a safe place where a person could do anything that they wanted. And if it were a play, it would have taken place in one setting. In the film, it is the living room of the main character, Johnny's duplex apartment. There are other locations in the film, but the main activity happens in Johnny's apartment. Lots of people have free reign in the living room. Friends can come over and indulge themselves in a little bit of fun. The neighboring boy, Denny, drops in at any time he wants, and Lisa's mom is constantly visiting over there. One of the most intriguing parts of the film is the dialogue and how alien it is to our culture. The original script was longer than what was actually filmed. It featured a series of lengthy monologues, and unfortunately they were too incomprehensible to appear in the film. I would have loved to have seen that material. What did make it into the film is absolutely baffling and pretty much comedy gold, not only being said with Tommy Wiseau's unique accent and personal quirks, but by the other characters in the film as well. We have so many famous sayings that just send me into absolute hysterical laughter because they're simply not normal conversational phrases, or even the tone of the voice that these lines are delivered. It just seems completely wrong for the moment. There is also a series of repeated phrases. There are 19 variations of oh hi or oh hey, 14 different forms of don't worry about it. There are 7 mentions of Johnny and Mark being best friends. Lisa says, "I don't want to talk about it," 5 times. The phrase future wife or future husband is actually said 4 times. There are many references to other films in this movie. I won't mention all of them. One is Johnny's famous rampage scene, which is reminiscent of the rampage scene in Orson Welles' Citizen Kane, released in 1941. The phrase, "a film with the passion of Tennessee Williams," was a quote in the promotional materials for this film. And it references A Streetcar Named Desire, which was released in 1951, starring Marlon Brando. And it is a play that's written by Tennessee Williams. Johnny also uses the famous line, "You're tearing me apart." And this is also the same line that is said in Rebel Without a Cause, released in 1955. The challenge. Move over, Darth Vader. Your services are no longer needed. We have a new baddie in town. The challenge in this story is Lisa. She is an evil, evil woman who is willing to destroy a man's life just because she can. One night after making sweet, passionate love for hours to Johnny, Lisa takes a good look at him, and somehow she is not happy in her relationship. They're about to get married. He treats her like a princess, showers her with gifts, and works all day while she barely even looks for work in the computer business. But she wants more excitement, more engagement, maybe someone closer to her own age, a better lover, a better listener, someone she can connect with on a deeper spiritual and psychological level. Who knows? The film never quite explains why she wants to end the relationship, but only that she's bored of Johnny. Why doesn't she just talk to Johnny about this and try to make their relationship work? No, her choice is to spice things up by cheating on Johnny with his best friend Mark. Now, to Mark's credit, she does seduce him under protest. But at the same time, he gives in to her. And the two of them maintain the lie to Johnny that everything is perfect and the two people who love him the most would never hurt him. Her actions create a lot of tension and provides what action we have in the film. Lisa's best accomplice besides Mark is her mother, Claudette, who is the matriarch instilling terrible morals to her daughter. She talks about Johnny as if he's a bank, and Lisa is a weakling that should be happy to have him care for her. Here are some of the ridiculous things she says, and talk about setting women back in the dark ages. One big complaint about the film that many people have a hard time with is the fact that during one of Claudette's visits with Lisa, she casually mentions that she has breast cancer, and it's given very little concern in the film. Lisa says, "Don't worry about it," and it's never heard of again. According to Tommy Wiseau from an interview, we shouldn't be too worried about it either. In his opinion, cancer is not as deadly as we're led to believe, and people are recovering from it all the time. So Claudette in the story does make a full recovery. Now the empathy. I have to say that I didn't feel much empathy for any of the characters. Johnny is a real saint. He does so many nice things for people. In several scenes, he tells people that he is there for them anytime they may need him. You would think that would make him likable, but he's actually not, because as an audience, we can't really trust him. He displays his emotions as up and down as they come to him. There's a disconnect because his reactions to the events of the film are not organic or relatable. In fact, none of the characters are relatable. Another key element is that you don't feel anything for his character when bad things happen, because the film really never focuses on his point of view. Despite being the main character, he's really not on screen for very long before another character's issues come to play. You know what would be really cool is to know, what is it like for Johnny at work? Everyone seems to like Johnny. outside of work, but what is happening to him in his workplace? Why can't he get that promotion? Who is the new client that he mentions to Mark, and what will it mean for him to succeed? Is he facing any challenges because of his accent or where he's from or his past? We know that he was a busboy at one point and didn't have much. How did he work his way up to being a banker? Where is he from, and where does he want to go in life? These are simple questions that could be answered in just a few lines of dialogue, but we don't seem to get that in this film. We do get a tiny glimpse of it when Johnny explains how he meets Lisa. And we really needed more of that, and also to be written with a little bit more believability. Now, Johnny's best friend Mark betrays him by sleeping with his future wife. Mark is strangely named after Matt Damon, after Wiseau misheard the actor's name. Technically, Mark is actually part of the challenge because he betrayed Johnny. But because he's manipulated by Lisa, the film really wants us to sympathize with him. And you kinda do, but not by much. One minute he hates what he's doing with Lisa, and the next minute he's fighting for her. In one scene we see him brooding about what he has done, and the next he nearly kills his friend Peter when he tells him he knows their secret. He flips in and out of character constantly. It's almost as if Wiseau didn't know whether Mark was a complete backstabbing jerk or a nice guy in a tricky situation. In reality, things aren't so black and white. But I think in movies, the audience needs to know the separation, the technical aspects. Well, according to Greg Sestero, who plays Mark, Tommy Wiseau was a wealthy entrepreneur and real estate developer in and around Los Angeles and San Francisco. He financed the film by also importing and selling leather jackets from Korea. Tommy really didn't know much about cameras or the film industry and became confused about how he should go about filming. So he shot the film simultaneously on a 35mm film and also high definition video. And he purchased the cameras instead of renting them, as many film productions usually do. And that hiked up his cost quite a bit. Rumors on set was that it was rocky from the very start. The filming took over 6 months, and in that time they employed about 400 people, and the crew was reportedly replaced 4 times. A big struggle for Tommy on the set was remembering his lines. For example, it took 32 takes to say his famous lines on the rooftop before noticing Mark. After the film wrapped, the script supervisor, Sandy Sklar, claimed that it was he who actually handled the direction of the film. However, many cast members did say that Sklar took charge a lot on the set, helping Wiseau with his lines and guiding the other actors. The indoor sets of the apartment were reportedly the result of a thrift store display window purchase. As many have pointed out, the framed spoons amongst the decor, which is a last-minute purchase in an attempt to dress the set. No pictures were replaced to save time, and so framed spoons earns a place in cinema history. Rumor has it that an actual rooftop was available to Tommy, but instead those scenes were shot on a soundstage with exteriors of San Francisco green screened in. The reason for that is that Tommy did not want anyone else to take control of his movie. The alley set was built, torn down, and rebuilt in spite of having access to a real alley. The editing in the film was a mixed bag. In some instances it was good, and in others it needed to be a little bit more aggressive. A great example of that is Johnny's rampage scene, in which he seems lethargic between the action. It should have just been action, action, action. The score was pretty good in my opinion. The soundtrack gets a lot of hate from critics, but I thought it was just fine for 2003. It's very dated for sure, but just research any of the 2003 R&B music and you pretty much get a lot of the same songs that sound like the ones in the film. Performances. I really like these actors. They're not bad. They just needed better dialogue and better direction. A lot of the film's dialogue was also dubbed in, which is why there's so many out of sync scenes and just awkwardness. Tommy's fever dream performance is really the pulse behind the popularity of the film because of his odd and unusual delivery, which caught the attention of the audience. The best part of the film for me is Johnny's birthday party, which finishes the movie. The ending is tragic. After finding out that Lisa is cheating on him with Mark, unfortunately Johnny commits suicide. You're supposed to feel bad for him, but you don't. And you kind of just ask yourself, why are these characters responding to Johnny's death in this way? It just seems totally surreal. So the ending, it's not really sad at all, and it just ends very weird. The wish list. Wishing on this film is kind of tricky because if you change any part of it, you may change the magic of the film, the very reason why it's entertaining. But if I'm going to make a wish, I wish that the film removed all of the boring scenes of the people getting their mail, over 10 minutes of awkward love scenes, and gone for full insanity. There's a lot of weird things that sort of happen in the film, and I wish it had kept that strange momentum going. Now, summary. The theater showing the film posted a sign for moviegoers that there were no refunds for their tickets. The film was promoted with a single billboard in Hollywood located at Highland Avenue for over 5 years, rumored at a cost of $5,000 a month, featuring that misleading poster of Tommy's Wiseau left eye in mid-blink. I mean, really, really creepy stuff. The film got little to no traction when it was released, but much of the film's legacy was due to the fact that the Cartoon Network's Adult Swim stopped their programming to air a censored version of the film on April Fool's Day from 2009 to 2011. Greg Sestero, who played Mark, wrote a book about his friendship with Tommy Wiseau and his experiences making the film entitled The Disaster Artist, published in 2013, the 10th anniversary of the film's premiere. On the onset, this film could really appear to be a movie bashing women in general, but there are moments that you get the idea that that is not entirely so, because in one instant, Mark does say that women are smart, and Michelle says to Lisa that she doesn't understand her and she has a different point of view. And that is fine because in both genders, one can find cheaters and morally bankrupt people manipulating others for fun and looking to benefit themselves. There's a lot of pain behind this story about betrayal, and it is a cautionary tale about unscrupulous exploits. At Johnny's birthday party, Michelle tells Lisa that there is a psychological impact to worry about, and Steven also explains to Lisa that it could destroy the sense of community they have in their group of friends. These are all realistic issues that happen when people go through breakups. It's almost like a cathartic vehicle for Tommy himself, and I could be wrong here, but it really seems like it. The character of Lisa is so unrealistically malicious, and the character of Johnny, which coincidentally rhymes with Tommy, is so angelic, and that makes you raise an eyebrow. Did we watch a man's personal account of a painful breakup and making this film was the only way he could deal with it. After doing some research, I discovered that Greg had given his insight that the character of Lisa was based on a woman whom Tommy Wiseau proposed to with a $1,500 diamond engagement ring. Johnny killing himself is a part of the breakup fantasy. It's also a part of the reason that it's such an unrealistic moment that you don't feel sorry for the character. You don't connect with the story because it's so ridiculous that you end up laughing hysterically. And from that laughter, a viewer can gain massive entertainment and engagement, which is the entire purpose I watch movies. It is famously named the worst movie ever made, but in my opinion, it's not. It is in a unique quadrant of movies that at some point had the potential to be a generic, decent movie, but because of its oddities, it has become a wonderful, wonderful guilty pleasure. That sums up my review, and I hoped you liked it. This is Retro Nerd Girl signing off. Take care, movie lovers. I'm off to my next review.